So he comes in, and again, like this is the opportunity to redeem yourself. This is where you can be like, all right, listen, you came to me with some facts and figures. I can come to you with some facts and figures. But he doesn't. And so he's either stupid or he's like purposefully misleading his followers, which is worse, by the way. And it says, ironic, you're claiming that's what I'm doing. Probably projection. Again, like this is the stuff we're dealing with. You know, like give me a break, man. So I jump back. I'm like, I'm not sponsored by ETH projects to put out biased information to a massive uneducated new people getting into crypto. There you go. That's him, man. If Solana propaganda is objective numbers that you clearly can't refute, that's just called facts. Try it instead of ETH has already won. No response there. So this was just a great example of how stupid this guy is. Well, hello, welcome to the first real episode of like This Week in Crypto, essentially, with me. I think in the future, I'm going to bring on some teammates, get some like live discussion going. But I thought to start, like I think it's important to kind of just provide some context for the show itself and some of the motivations like leading into it. And really just to look at it again, like the past weekish in crypto, from like all this is going to be from my vantage point and just kind of like point at some of the drivers that like pushed me over the edge and got me to do this, I think. So a lot of this is going to originate from like crypto Twitter, which, you know, I check routinely. I also just like need to know with, you know, the work streams we have at Margin and like making sure that kind of like just from an exposure standpoint, we're reaching the right audience essentially. Yeah, so I'll start there. So one of the big like kicking off points, if you will, was so there's this guy David Hoffman. He's one of the co-hosts of a podcast called Bankless. And if any of you like watched the starting intro to this show, like the little teaser I put out on Twitter, just like kind of like discussing why I wanted to do this. I literally had Bankless like in the tweet as to like an example of what I thought was like bad for the industry. So when it comes to Bankless in particular, they're not like the worst offenders of this by any means. There's some things from them that are great. They actually there was a good, it wasn't like, they didn't really do much here, but they provided the platform for like this SBF Eric Voorhees debate, when SBF had like posted these like controversial things about what he was talking about with regulators on, you know, how to look at DeFi, and Eric Voorhees had responded on Twitter, and they kind of like provided a platform for them to like actually talk face to face. And this happened like right before FTX imploded. So that was like back in the days when like people weren't calling Sam an outright scammer yet. So that was like really interesting. That was like a great. I watched that. I watched the Sam and Eric Voorhees back and forth. Where again, like Bankless really didn't do much, but they at least provided a platform for it. So that was great. So I caveat that. I think that's an important caveat because, yeah, like Bankless isn't BitBoy. Like Bankless isn't like just a pump and dump scheme. They try to do things, but they're just misguided. So yeah, so let's fast forward to, so this is January 24th. So also again, like quick context. So it's the Sunday of February 5th right now. So I'm going to like look back on the past week. Since this is like the first week, I'm going to go a little bit farther. I actually recorded, my first episode included this, but I just wanted to start fresh and kind of like just move from like that promo to like the real thing. And this show itself will definitely kind of evolve as, you know, I just hear from users on what they like and what they don't like. Users being listeners in this case. But David tweeted, and I have it up here. Like, it's pretty obvious that Ethereum has. This is what he tweeted. It's pretty obvious that Ethereum has won the game. To be honest, it's been obvious for a long while. So this popped up in my feed. I also think this popped up in my feed because Twitter has recently, according to the rumors, like I don't have any objective evidence of this, but has Elon Musk tweeted this essentially, that Twitter is starting rewarding content in which you like disagree with more heavily. So, the algo might have read me right here and popped this up in my feed because I don't follow David Hoffman or like any of the like Bankless stuff. But yeah, it popped up in my feed. It's pretty obvious that Ethereum has already won the game. To be honest, it's been obvious for a while now. So I saw this and like, for context, so like David Hoffman here has 175,000 followers. Bankless itself has, comparable amount of followers. His co-host, I think his name's Ryan, has a comparable amount of followers. So like, and who are these people? I think that's like an important like segmentation we need to make. These people are, for the most part, new entrants into crypto, new entrants into like the crypto Twitter sphere as well, who are, interested in the technology, interested in what crypto has to offer, but are largely uninformed and just getting their feet wet. Like they're kind of like just jumping in. And I've validated that statement with like a lot of people who've interacted with Bankless. Bankless was just kind of like their first introduction, if you will, to crypto, or part of that at least. And like when you start following a bunch of like crypto accounts on Twitter, Bankless is typically like one of the ones you come across. So when I see a statement like this from like someone in that position, oftentimes like alarm bells go off in my head. Like this isn't a good thing, because this is like a really stupid statement. And when you overly simplify and make stupid statements, you just like completely misrepresent the space. And also just, there's a lot of people that just take you at your word for it. And I think we know this is true if you observe politics or if you observe any sort of like opinion-centered art form, if you will, if you want to call it that. Yeah, like influence matters here. So I saw this and I replied. I'm like, I guess 300,000 daily users, which is around like what Ethereum has, in a world of 8 billion people, means you won. There's consumer apps that hit those numbers and then die all the time, which is like extremely true. And then like, just for context, before Margin, I was a co-founder of a consumer health tech company that my co-founder and I had like launched and grown and then sold. So I have some experience in like the consumer side of the world. I know like consumer products, consumer tech pretty well. I know like the growth drivers around that. I know what matters to people. And this statement was just like really simplified and stupid from my vantage point. So I wanted to jump in there. And then it just got, unfortunately, this is often a time where, okay, someone comes back to you with some numbers, some objective logic, like clear thinking and a refutation to what you've originally said. Like, this is a time where you can come back and kind of like counter with something similar in terms of quality. But that's it just like went downhill. So David responded and he goes, you got to think in log terms instead of linear terms. Being one order of magnitude ahead in adoption in the year 2023 is a big deal. We're closer to the end of the race than what people think. So this is such a stupid tweet that like, now I'm like, I don't know much about this guy, but now I'm like, okay, maybe this guy's just like a complete LARP, or he's trolling me. But I don't think he's trolling me, because then I look back into like the content that Bankless like routinely puts out, looked into like this guy in particular, and like this is actually how these people operate. And again, this is like so terrible for anyone entering crypto, that this is like the stupidity that they have to deal with. So let's like literally break it. Like, let's look at the statement. You have to think in log terms instead of linear terms. So I know what like logarithmic is. I know what like linear is. I know what those look on plot. What does that mean? Like, come on. Being one order of magnitude ahead in adoption in the year 2023 is a big deal. Ethereum is not an order of magnitude ahead in adoption. Also, an order of magnitude is something you can quantify. By the way, even though that doesn't even matter here. But no, like Ethereum is not an order of magnitude ahead in adoption. What signifies adoption? Usage, right? Guess what? Like Ethereum isn't even the most used blockchain. So how is it ahead of an order of magnitude ahead in adoption in the year 2023? And by the way, like original tweet gets 653 likes, has 100,000, 125,000 impressions. It's like people are clearly resonating with this message. And that follow-up tweet, that like for like objectively stupid follow-up tweet, still 13 likes, 1,500 impressions. Like people are just getting behind whatever these people have to say, because like it very much mirrors an element of politics where like they're like, okay, Ethereum is like has some hero complex around this, so anything that opposes that is clearly the antagonist, and so I need to side with the protagonist here. And it's just like so stupid. Like this holds back adoption so much, this type of like stupidity. So I just responded like, please quantify anything you just said. Asking because nothing you've expressed has any objective context whatsoever, and it doesn't. And I ratioed on that, thankfully, because I should have. Because that is like the dumbest thing ever. So all right, so this is like some context here. Like, all right, these are big voices on crypto Twitter land, out elsewhere as well. Like they have a podcast that reaches other people that don't interact with Twitter every day. And these are kind of these people are controlling the medium, and so red flag right away. How are they controlling the medium? A lot of them, like their primary method is like these podcast videos, YouTube, that type of thing. So maybe I need to do something here. That was like kind of like start of the tipping point. Again, I'm just providing context on like why I wanted to start to get into this. So this was just the start of this like interaction sequence, essentially. So what happened next is, since my response to him got a fair amount of attention and appreciation, he made another tweet, and this is what it says: like, shaking my head, y'all making me write another article. And he posts a screenshot of this article, which, by the way, I think he makes people pay for to read. Like, I think this is like a paid Substack. So it should be quality, right? Like, should be pretty good. Let's look at it. So I'm opening this up right now. That's bad. Maybe it's just better to look at it like this. The title is "There Will Only Be One." And it's like analogizing to Game of Thrones. There's only one throne to sit on. And all this article does is screenshot his tweets and give a bunch of one-liners. Like, money begets money, liquidity begets liquidity. There's only one Wall Street. Like, what? Why do these people have platforms? Like, this is the type of crap you're listening to? And like, people are paying for this, like, to be just indoctrinated with this, like, BS. Ethereum L2s are outperforming most L1s. Like, that's such an overreaching statement that, where are we even to start with, like, breaking that down? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then he just has a section called responses. But MySpace and AOL. But Facebook beat MySpace, bro. Bro, think in positive sums. And he just like starts showing his tweets again. Like, this is really gripping stuff. Like, this is academic paper style, academic research style stuff, you know? Then why are there so many Alt L1s? DC pumpers. What? And then he's got, and so this is where it was interesting. He's got me. It's like the game, pace of adoption is all that matters. And he has my tweet. And then he says, this is the wrong way of thinking. And then he just gives his tweet. And this is his tweet. This is his refutation to, I guess, 300,000 daily users out of 8 billion people means he won. Just because crypto adoption is at 1% doesn't mean we need a spiffy new blockchain to unlock the remaining 99%. It's highly likely the winning blockchain already exists. Adoption percentage doesn't matter, pace of adoption matters. What? Can you quantify any of this? Any of this? First of all, it seems like none of these people. So let me go on a quick rant here. A lot of people in crypto have seemed to just like live out their entire professional lives within crypto and have no experience outside that bubble whatsoever, which is terrible. Like, crypto is a technology. Okay, so like understanding like the course of like technological evolution is really important to like understand, like providing the mental framework for assessing crypto. Anything in technology goes through a vast set of iterations, and constantly new innovations are capturing up users, and like new innovations are every day in technology. Do I need to like explain this essentially? If we're at 1% of adoption, why would it be highly likely that the winning technology already exists? Well, we were at 1% of the internet adoption. Were any of the like normal tech things we use today in existence? Were any of them? And if so, like what percentage of the ones that were in existence then made it to now? You know? Like, this is so stupid. Like, just start listening to yourself speak, and you realize how idiotic you sound. Do I think like we figured out 99% of crypto with 1% of adoption? No. I think there's like a huge blank slate of new innovation to happen, and like getting married to any sort of technology at this stage is completely stupid. Completely stupid. Don't take my word for it. Look at the birth of the internet. Look at like, you know, the software explosion, and tell me how when 1% of, you know, people had adopted the internet, how many of those companies have made it to today and that you use on a daily basis? You know, like, give me a break. So again, more context here. But so I saw this and like, you know, I responded to it. And my response got half the likes his did, actually. I said, hey, when you talk about, because, you know, it brings in layer twos here. Hey, when you talk about layer twos, make sure to include how they're all centralized and don't benefit ETH at all. Like, this is very true. There's, all of them are multi-sigs with, you know, no fraud proofs, and for the most part are just like their own, like the way they're formatted pretty much act as their own independent blockchain, their own L1. They're not an Ethereum scaling solution, and they haven't been, by the way. We've been talking about Ethereum scaling solutions, rollups, for like 4 or 5 years. So it hasn't been like this for a long time. And a lot of the promises of like centralizing and like and adhering to the L2 standards have gone out the window. Like, look at Polygon. Polygon is a great example of this. Like, they continually would say, we're going to decentralize. We're going to be like an Ethereum scaling solution. Polygon is an Ethereum sidechain that doesn't inherit practically any benefits from Ethereum, other than like, for the most part, the format in which developers interact with the EVM. Like that's it. That's it. So don't tell me, like, don't gaslight me with this stuff. So hey, when you talk about layer twos, make sure you include how they're all centralized and don't benefit ETH at all. Also try to include how Solana's users have already surpassed ETH and why this hasn't slowed down. Because he talks about adoption. What is like a KPI of adoption? It's usage. Then I responded to that. I'm like, maybe also include how 90% of the global population can afford to more than 3 transactions on Ethereum per month. This seems like an issue. And this is actually, this isn't even just like exaggeration. This is fairly true. I a few months ago, I did a quick analysis of just like if you were to make like 3 swaps on Uni V3 on Ethereum L1, how much of that would like eat up your monthly income if you were in essentially like the lower quartile of the world in terms of like from a country standpoint, from an income per person standpoint. And like it was astronomical. Like it was completely out of touch for, and by the way, like this is where in this segment being in the lower quadrant, or the like mid to lower quadrant of the world from a country standpoint in terms of income per person, this represents the majority of the population that exists. Like, this isn't the minority in terms of like head count. This is the majority. And it was just like completely like out of reach for these people to pay that much on a single swap, like essentially like just a single usage pattern of Ethereum, a really primitive one, meaning like something really important, swapping on Uniswap, getting swapping, a certain liquidity in a certain asset for liquidity in a different asset. I could look that up too if that's of interest, but I think you could see how this would be an issue from probably just listening to that. And so I also can also talk about how critical finance primitives can't be built on ETH because it's so non-performant. This seems like an issue. That's also very true. So I work at Margin, right? And we contribute to MarginFi, which is like this decentralized on-chain prime brokerage. And a lot of the things, like the way we operate, we couldn't accomplish on Ethereum, meaning that like we have the ability to cross margin perpetuals between different dexes on Solana. So a trader plugs into our infrastructure, goes long on, like, say, Drift, goes short on, let's say, like Zeta, and manages it all from their account on MarginFi, and like protects themselves from like siloed liquidation risk, for example, on a single dex by their portfolio recognizing that they're in a market neutral position. So that we could not do that on Ethereum. Why can't we do that on Ethereum? Because like you can't have, where on Ethereum do we have like perps on the L1, right? We don't, because they're derivatives, they're fast moving derivatives that need to constantly be settled, essentially, and 15-second block times or whatever Ethereum is at is like, it's not 15-second block times, it's whatever like block times Ethereum is at, whatever like essentially transactions per second Ethereum is at. Ethereum right now is at about 13 transactions per second. So that's not nearly fast enough to be able to constantly settle positions across fast moving derivatives on a blockchain. That just like is not. This is also very problematic from like a risk monitoring standpoint, because if you have a product that exceeds past like passes past the liquidation threshold and you need to liquidate that position, um, you're now on a very slow, essentially slow structure to do so. And so by the time you do so, and also by the amount you have to pay to do so on time, you could really like harm the integrity of that position from a capital efficiency standpoint, as well as just like not liquidating in a timely manner and incurring bad debt onto the protocol or onto like however your mechanism is set up, essentially. Um, so that's two quick examples. There's a variety. There's a vast amount of examples when it comes to parallelization with DeFi. So like the TLDR there is Solana. Like one of the really cool things about Solana is that it enables parallelization at the base layer. Ethereum, however, operates in like EVM, which is a sequential environment. And so parallelization, I would argue, is needed for like real finance to happen. Having everything happen sequential, meaning like everything happening one after the other, is a bit more problematic, especially when you're setting up delta neutral positions, especially when you're trying to put through like a custom transaction where certain things have to occur. There's just like a variety of reasons why parallelization is like a really important thing that opens up DeFi that I could go into more as well if you want me to. But yeah, so also talk about how critical finance primitives can't be built on ETH because it's so non-performant. This seems like an issue. It's an issue. And this is again like, so I'm giving you objective stuff, you know, like some real stuff here. I'm trying to actually like better the conversation. So he comes in, and again, like this is the opportunity to redeem yourself. This is where you can be like, all right, listen, you came to me with some facts and figures. I can come to you with some facts and figures, but he doesn't. And so he's either stupid or he's like purposefully misleading his followers, which is worse, by the way. He comes back, he says, bro, these are common Solana propaganda. This next sentence is terrible. He goes, looking at your pin tweet, your dude, Y-O-U-R, not you-are. Looking at your pin tweet, it looks like your chief propaganda officer. Now you got it wrong the other way. Now it's you are chief propaganda, Y-O-U-R-E. So grammar, not like the markers are on the wall is what I'm saying. Like this guy is clearly an idiot. He's like looking at your pin tweet, it looks like your chief propaganda officer, because he just saw one of my like more viral tweets where I'm talking about reasons why Ethereum has like issues. And again, I use some like logic and objective reasoning, facts and figures. And it says, ironic you're claiming that's what I'm doing. Probably projection. Again, like this is the stuff we're dealing with, you know, like give me a break, man. So I said, I'm not, so I jump back. I'm like, I'm not sponsored by ETH projects to put out biased information to a massive uneducated new people getting into crypto. There you go. That's him, man. If Solana propaganda is objective numbers that you clearly can't refute, that's just called facts. Try it instead of ETH has already won. No response there. So this was just a great example of how stupid this guy is. Totally also jumped in, the co-founder of Solana, and said Solana, BSC, and Polygon each got more users than Ethereum, and its L2s faster than Ethereum. So I don't think the pace of adoption argument makes sense. I like that. I don't think he even responded to that. Yeah, he didn't, because like again, you give him any like objective facts and figures, there's nothing this guy fucking has. There's nothing this guy has. You give him some objective facts and figures, there's nothing this guy has. I just saw this comment. This is pretty good. I think we're starting to see her descend into full-blown god complex. Maybe take a moment and try to remember why you got into the space in the first place. That would benefit you, David, if you are actually, you know, half the man you say you are in terms of like commenting on the crypto space. So yeah, another like shove, like, hey, these are the people controlling the visual medium to crypto. We need to shift this. So as this debate was ongoing, one of my colleagues, one of the guys I work with, Anders, he tweeted out, "Hey, Trusted Slate, would you be down for a Solana versus Ethereum debate with MacBrennan, moderated by me?" And originally didn't get any didn't get a whole ton of like interaction. So I responded with a post debate with a clip of I think that's him, Trusted State, David Hoffman. Yeah, David Hoffman, upset, crying. Because like quite honestly, if he decided to debate me, like, and this is the type of like intelligence he has, it would be like very awful for him. That's for sure. And so I just responded like, does it make it seem like you're an honest debater? Like, dude, you're the one like that's because there's second and third degree effects to what he says. Like, he's the one that, by extension, is constantly putting down Solana builders, Solana users, delegitimizing them, telling them everything they're working towards is a lie. And he's going to say, like, because me, like, posting a picture of him crying, it makes me not an honest debater. You know, like, okay, dude, okay, sure. Like, yeah, sure. Continue to bash everyone who's not an Ethereum fanboy. But if anyone, like, you know, poses any facts and figures to you and wants, like, an honest debate, call them and not an honest debater. You know, fantastic. So I just respond, like, sir, this is in response to you repeatedly putting down other ecosystems, builders, and users who don't use your favorite chain. And that's pretty much it. And I actually like quote tweeted one of my replies where he says, "I don't seem to have any integrity," and he would rather debate Anatoly. He'd rather debate Anatoly because Anatoly has a much bigger audience than I do, and it drives up ad revenue for him. Like, that's why, by the way. But I responded, like, you're the person that tweeted a non-objective divisive statement diminishing other people in space. Ethereum has already won. Then I used some facts and figures to question that claim. What's your reasoning for why I wouldn't have integrity? Yeah, so quick wrap on like the bankless squabble that recently happened. Hopefully there's a bit more. I like poking these guys' buttons because, like, again, this is not any sort of honest representation of crypto at all. So expect more of that. But let's move to like some other things that happened last week as well. All right, so then as well, I think that same day. So 2 days later, this guy Mark Zeller, who I really don't know why this guy has so many followers. I don't even know who this guy is actually. Anyway, he tweets, "Ethereum has won the L1 wars." So it's like the same, like, it's like these guys are coordinated, like that, like it is like there's a coordinated psyop going on where people just like need Ethereum to win. They need their exit liquidity. Ethereum has won the L1 wars. Every cycle since Litecoin got cheaper and faster chains, all sharing the same fate. EOS, Sol, now Aptos. Of those, Solana is nowhere near EOS in terms of anything actually. Aptos also like just launched. Aptos is weird to me. I'm gonna admit, but like, there's no way we could call there's no way we can say Aptos has like lost anything yet. Although, like, with Aptos, I'm not so sure. Ethereum won because it's not cheaper and faster, Bitcoin, but something completely different. Now start the era of L2 wars. So, like, conclusive statement, no follow-up reasoning. Let's shift the focus to Ethereum only, basically. He then also said the three current actors ahead of this new era are Starknet, Arbitrum, and Polygon. I also noticed this guy, so this like little heart emoji is like the Polygon thing. So I'm kind of wondering if this guy's affiliated in any way with Polygon or just potentially like an investor or some backholder or something like that. He says it's valuable for all three managed to have different tech, value prop, and communities. Other actors will innovate to get ahead. This new era is quite exciting to me, to be honest. Good sign of ecosystem maturity. Again, ecosystem maturity at 300,000 daily users is pretty pathetic. No maturity yet. For now, the only of these three actors can get you direct exposure to as an investor is Polygon via Matic. So this is like where it seems like he's just straight up shilling. While I don't do financial advice, the quality of delivery of the Polygon team is impressive. ZK EVM, allowing Poly to be true. L2 is scheduled soon. I have more Matic every month. So this is just like a coordinated shill. So I responded. This thread, 1, make claim with no objective analysis. That's completely wrong, as it is. 2, shill my bags. Are you trying to be BitBoy here? Because if you need help, the next step is pump and dump a low cap shitcoin. Also, don't pretend like you have any credibility with takes like this. Literally, I responded that, and then he turned on his. So only people he follows or mentioned can reply. So I think that struck a chord. But yeah, this is again like. These are an example, like 2 examples in a sea of examples. These are extremely detrimental to new entrants to crypto. These are part of the problem. This is why I'm here, essentially, with this format. So I actually responded with just tweeting my own. I didn't even tag it. But I said, I keep hearing ETH maxis say Ethereum has won the L1 wars. 1, what? 2, Ethereum isn't even the most used blockchain, even with its huge head start. 3, ETH has 300,000 daily users. It's not even close to a scale that matters. 4, rollups like Optimism or just other L1s. 5, please show me an ETH maxi that uses any sort of objective analysis. There's 0. 6, we might as well tweet Bitcoin one-liners like Michael Saylor. And hilariously, like, Bitcoin maxis are what ETH maxis despise. 7, these are seriously the people on CTU look up to. Like, what? 8, these idiotic takes take hold in otherwise intelligent people that at what they do in other verticals. And lots of these one-dimensionally talented people are the traders or VCs with large amounts of followers, lots of exposure. And then these traders and VCs parrot the same nonsense because that's their bubble. And this is very true. This is kind of like the crypto Twitter sphere that we all live in. So I said that got a fair amount of engagement. And then like this guy responded. So I looked at this guy's bio, and he's the Cointelegraph magazine editor. So like he's like editor at Cointelegraph, which is a publication on space. This is like an external publication on the space, one of the bigger publications on the space, where people like go to as a source of truth to give them a look into the crypto space. And he kind of like gets into some replies here, and you can just start to see how this bias has like crept into the publications covering crypto themselves that are supposed to be independent and objective. It's supposed to be. He says ZK ropes are working right now, and Starkware has turned on recursive scaling. This stuff is already taking off, and the Ethereum roadmap is built around it. I'm agnostic on which blockchain should win, but Ethereum is way out in front right now. Way out in front. So I said ETH is way out in front. How so? There's more users on a few different chains than Ethereum. Dev adoption has also higher growth rates elsewhere than Ethereum, which is true. Dev adoption is higher from a growth rate perspective on Solana than Ethereum. Ethereum has more more developers than Solana. Ethereum also has been around much longer than Solana. But if you look at current developer adoption growth rates, like Solana, for example, is higher. And certain primitives still can't be built on Ethereum. That's true. Like we don't have the tech in place still to build certain things. What's a way to quantify how they're way out in front? So yeah, let's just be objective here. Let's back this up. He replies, because they have more devs, a larger ecosystem with more transactions combined. What? And a mapped out path to scaling while remaining decentralized. What? And EVM compatible is the IBM compatible blockchain. What? So this is what, be wary of this. Anytime someone does this, your flag should go off. Like if someone starts to use analogies for no reason, it's just because they don't understand what they're talking about. So they start to liken it to things that people do understand to disguise the fact that they don't understand it. I said more devs where, so Ethereum does have more, again, like dev counts, head counts, more devs, but like adoption and growth rates, current adoption and growth rates, don't show that as like a sustainable position. More transactions combined? No, they don't. No, Ethereum and its L2s does not have more transactions combined or users than Solana. False, incorrect, objective. Path to scaling while remaining decentralized. All scaling solutions are literally centralized, with like really no target date on when they're going to decide to decentralize, and with the precedent of like Polygon being like this big promise echo chamber where it never does decentralize. Also, that last sentence makes no sense. The analogy of like IBM compatible blockchain, and no, it doesn't. And so like this is how out of touch people are. Like this is a objective commentator on the space, an editor at a publication that has authority and like shapes people's perception of crypto. Okay, it must be fun whatever world you're living in, but it's not reality. Yes, that is reality, sir. That is literally objective reality. So this is why it's just so I say, yeah, it literally is. Go ahead and use some numbers to refute any of that. You can't, because he can't. You can't refute that. Then he says more devs, and what does he do? He tags Bankless. See? So this is what I mean. Like, these are the publications controlling your mind share. This is what these are people's source of truth. This is a crippling issue to crypto that these people are representing this space. Awful. So I say, oh dear, buddy, these are not credible sources. Bankless is not a credible source when it comes to cross-chain objective analysis. Let me make that very clear. Very clear. They are not an objective source. They're not a credible source. They're literally paid by ETH project sponsors to put this out. They are. Check their sponsors. Check their source of funding. How are they paid to do what they do? By Ethereum projects, Ethereum affiliated projects. Come on, you're a reporter. He's an editor. It's different, but same thing. Oh, same concept. You need to do better. And he said, lol, they understated it. Just like some other publication that I didn't even, open and read, because I know how to do objective analysis in the space. Most people don't. But this is showing why, how deep-rooted this issue is. This is a guy that is just supposed to, I don't need to, it bears repeating. This is a guy that's supposed to be independent, and he's not. And lots of people who trust him with their viewership are suffering. Cointelegraph, what's going on, guys? So then I tweeted again, said, guy from Cointelegraph just told me ETH has more transactions than Sol, and that ETH scaling solutions are decentralized. What? Yeah, it's just bad. And you look at these comments, and yeah, I mean, I think people are starting to catch on, but my followers, a lot of them come from the Solana ecosystem, so they caught up to this psyop, where a lot of people in the Ethereum ecosystem have not caught up to this psyop at all. All right, so that concludes the like, hey, this is why I'm doing this. These are kind of like the things that push me over the edge. Why I'm here talking to you, giving you this show that I want to kind of like evolve and iterate on and listen to what you guys like and what you don't like, essentially. That'll happen again, like for the most part, like last 2-ish weeks, but last week. So I wanted to switch topics real quick to Kanto. Kanto's kind of been on my feed. Wanted to look into it, get some some thoughts on it. One of the ringleaders of Kanto is a guy named Scott Lewis, who co-founded Slingshot Crypto and DeFi Pulse. I know DeFi Pulse is like a analytics aggregator. Pretty sure. Slingshot Crypto is a swap thing, which looks cool. I haven't used any of them, but a guy who's like definitely comes from Ethereum land and is in the space. He tweets out, so he's been a big Kanto bull. He tweets out, 1,687 days later, the transaction cost rule, everything thesis is definitely incorrect. Have you noticed that all the formats of these tweets are like the same thing? It's the same thing. Start off with something wrong, like clear propaganda, and then just like follow it with information that validates that already wrong propaganda statement, but a statement that people will just like and retweet because it aligns with their ideology. Huge issue. Again, this is holding back so much adoption. EOS almost dead. Solana barely in the top 10. He's just talking about coin price here, which is like such a stupid way to view adoption. Coin price is just speculation. Like I'll flash back to like the TLDR I gave on like the intro, but that's just really stupid. And then he says Ethereum mainnet still dominating on-chain activity after 4 or 5 years of 100x to 10,000x higher transaction costs than the alternatives. Ethereum still, let me reread this. Ethereum mainnet still dominating on-chain activity. Dominating on-chain activity. So I respond, how is ETH dominating on-chain activity when Solana has more on-chain activity? I also say, better yet, how does token price validate any of these claims? More people speculate, therefore technology good. Where then Tristan, who's a friend from the Solana ecosystem, co-founder of Zeta, which is like start off as like a options protocol, also supports Perps now. Really solid team, like really great group of guys I hung out with a lot in Singapore. He says Bitcoin actually has the most on-chain activity because the price is the highest because science, which is like literally like the thought process these guys are following. Even totally jumped in. Solana does more transactions from dApps and users excluding votes than all the chains in the screenshot combined. And there's more. It does cheaper and has more full nodes than all the chains besides Ethereum. To which Scott said, it's just not many of those users are in my friend group because I'm not a distributed virtual machine. Which I think I know what he's trying to get at with that, but and then someone says, or just a maxi. Yeah. And also, by the way, when I was talking about token price, like this isn't a top 10 coin market cap aggregator. This is a TVL aggregator, I'm pretty sure, from the screenshot that he's providing. TVL is largely denoted in the native token of the chain. Like a lot of TVL on Ethereum is in ETH, a lot of TVL and Solana isn't sold. And so like when these native tokens go through cycles, TVL is represented as such. Also, another thing that something that most people don't take into consideration with TVL, that's actually really important, is TVL is also denoted in the USD value of the governance tokens on top of a chain, meaning that like compound token or Uniswap token are accounted for in TVL because they're like used throughout protocols. They're used as like a monetary, like a source of value across DeFi and everywhere else. Newer chains like Solana, for example, a lot of the protocols that people use haven't launched a token. And so the protocols themselves are, worth 30 million, 60 million, 100 million in their native token and just haven't launched that, and also don't just like keep it in an on-chain treasury. So none of that is recorded as TVL. This is something that no one talks about. But it's like really big because in Ethereum, this is quite the opposite. Every time like an Ethereum project launches, there's very quickly a token. There's very quickly a treasury. All this starts to work its way into like the TVL outlook. Not the same on Solana. So that's definitely worth noting. But anyway, he posts this because of Canto, and so I want to quickly like touch on Canto. Canto is this new like chain, I think, like taking a lot of inspiration from the Evmos, like the Cosmos EVM chain that went through a bunch of difficulty. And what I see as like an outsider, and this is not coping in any way, but what I see as an outsider is just like this big pump and dump. And what's funny about this is a pump and dump done by the people who were criticizing everyone in the Solana ecosystem for being part of a pump and dump. Again, Solana, for many people don't recognize, like you had the chance to buy Solana at like $1. Like you could have gotten very, very early. It's not like Aptos or Mistin Labs or like Sweet, where like these are going to come on the market at multi-billion-dollar valuations. Solana did not do that. Solana was like, went through, it had rounds of VC funding because it's a technology that, it wanted to pay employees and grow and like have like self-sustainable outside force working on the blockchain as it grew. Solana got a lot of crap for that because like Ethereum just went through, like they just dropped their token and then said like, bid this token up, and then that also, allows us to pay devs more with our treasury. That's a very risky business model, and just because like a chain doesn't take that doesn't mean a chain is illegitimate. However, because there was an element of VC funding involved with Solana, people from Ethereum in particular, and I guess it's just Ethereum really, we're very critical about that. Called it a big pump and dump, and called everything like unsustainable. Scott is one of those people. That's been very, very critical of Solana. Like we just go through his past tweets, and now he's kind of like he's part of that model much more explicitly with Canto, where it is a very clear pump and dump, where him and like a lot of the like Canto ringleaders, whether they be like I don't know, like Brent or Nanny or like these, and if these are all like CT figures, crypto Twitter figures that you either know or you don't, essentially. But if you do know, like it's a pretty big like pump and dump scheme coordinated by these people from the outside. That's what it looks like. And a lot of like the refutation on that front like goes to the tech itself. Like, no, look, we're doing things differently. Like we have something new here. Which the new things, from my like quick understanding is primarily this one thing called CSR, which is like Canto secured revenue, contract secured revenue, contract secured revenue, where basically like a share of revenue is given to the creator of a smart contract, of like the revenue generated by that smart contract, a share of it is like by default given to the creator of that smart contract. Which like from an economic perspective is just essentially like is this added tax or I think I saw something where Hasib from Dragonfly called it like it's very similar to a subsidy. So like let's say you do an AMM swap, you do a swap, you create like this price imbalance, and then someone comes and arbs back the price difference on the AMM, and to get that arb in time and you know with like the right parameters, it pays a really fat tip to the validator up to the point of like you know making sure they just get a small profit on the arb, and so a lot of this value goes to the validator, and so that's not going to change. Like that value will still exist, and so like searchers, essentially people like performing the MEV, are going to bid up to that value and send that tip to you know the validators. But now you also have to account for like extra revenue going to the contract creator, which is agnostic to like the value of the arbitrage value of the swap, the attainable arbitrage value of the swap. So what happens is like users are just gonna like consistently pay more for every like DeFi interaction. That's kind of like the microeconomic side of it, from again my quick understanding. And then like the also really weird thing is a lot of the primitives, like the really essential primitives, are already built and like already built by Canto and kind of like denominated in Canto in terms of like their governance tokens, which is like nationalizing an industry. I think that's like a good analogy, meaning that like you know like it's like public goods in America where certain public goods are just like nationalized, so that the government can kind of like regulate how they're run. What you'll find is there's very little innovation that goes on in these spaces because it's disincentivized now. Like why would a new founder come in and want to build a new borrow lend if the borrow lend's already built? And that borrow lend is like the standard for the L1, like the L1 is supporting that borrow lend, and two, that also like typically like is a very inefficient experience for the user because now they're using things that don't follow that like competitive alignment in terms of like pricing and utility that typically plays out with like a purely capitalistic dichotomy, if you will, of like two borrow lend programs, each competing on you know cost and efficiency and user experience and like all the things that matter to the end user. So these are like two of its core innovations, if you will, which are like really weird to me. Yeah, I just see it as like the people who are supporting this project very publicly and are like definitely driving users to the public to this project are like joking about dumping on their followers. Like if you look at like again Brent or Nanny or any sort of like any of the Canto ringleaders. So I just find this very, very hypocritical by certain people within this group of how they like go and criticize other ecosystems and then try to run the pump and dump playbook very explicitly when sure there was definitely a lot of bad actors in like the Solana ecosystem as there were in the Ethereum ecosystem and all across crypto. But yeah, just a little like side note. Canto's on my feed, wanted to comment on it, wanted to give my quick thoughts. Yeah, and then finally, yes, this one. So, last bit of context rounding out like episode 1. Again, I wanted some continuity here, wanted to show like why I got into this, leading to the next episode of some more like objective takes, like objective analysis of the ecosystem. but just setting the scene for like why this specific medium with my background being able to represent it is important. So this guy, Evan Van Ness, who I have muted. The only reason I saw this tweet is because someone from Solana actually sent it to me, and it was like, oh, I think you'd find this interesting. Let's see what he said. All right. So he says, OP, which is optimism. Optimism is an L2, which does not follow any of the L2 criteria for Solana, but it's an optimistic roll-up that doesn't even do fraud proofs. Is essentially its own standalone chain and has like this 7-day withdrawal period to ETH-L1 for like no reason, actually, technically. Optimism just flips Sol. One is a leading execution environment for the world sentiment layer. The other is an ill-performant Web2 database. And if you couldn't connect the dots here, the leading execution environment is Optimism, according to Evan, and an ill-performant Web2 database is Solana, according to Evan. So, quick background on this guy first. I don't know where this guy came from or why he's relevant. From my understanding, this is a guy who bought a lot of followers, ran a fake VC firm called Starbloom Invest, and then and also has a newsletter about Ethereum that doesn't seem to have any sort of traction. But these are it's like a Bitcoin maxi essentially. It's like these people who do podcasts and tweet to no one, but amass a lot of followers from like cycles of being in crypto, and that somehow are relevant because of that. It's the same. So he tweeted that, and this got a lot of like pushback, clearly, and so much so that he started like having to correct things, and his feelings were definitely hurt, because like Fubar jumped in, who's definitely like very aligned with the Ethereum ecosystem. So like essentially like home turf, like he's on the same home turf as Evan. He's kind of on the same team as Evan. He goes, Optimism is far more centralized than Solana. Not sure this is one to gloat about. And so like Evan's response is like, sure, they're both centralized now. Like, no, they're not. Like Solana has like, check out Solana's Nakamoto coefficient. Check out its like validator set. All more decentralized than Ethereum itself. Like I thought Solana is not like failing on the decentralization spectrum, and the way it's kind of gotten to this point, how rapidly it's gotten to this point has been like really amazing. Actually, it's done very well doing that. So I actually jumped in and responded. It hurts when he doesn't even have credibility in the ETH community he's built his whole Twitter around. Remember, friends, you can buy followers, run a fake VC firm, and ship a vaporware newsletter, but that doesn't mean you're worth listening to. To which someone said, agreed, he's a net negative for Ethereum. Which he is, he's a net negative for crypto. Like, it's not someone we want representing us. Even Paulina, who was like big ETH maxi, that's really all I know about this person. I'm sorry, but Optimism is even worse than Sol right now. You should know better than to shill SPF style, low circulating supply trash. The difference is, it doesn't matter for Optimism, and then it's some ETH maxi stuff that's just like not even worth reading. Well, sure. I mean, it'll be fine anyway because Solana is toast without valuable Sol long term. Remember, by the way, how Ethereum just switched to a profitable just switched to profitable tokenomics, if you will, last year. Ethereum was launched in 2016, 2015. And just last year, Ethereum finally figured it out, pushed the merge to, move to valuable tokenomics. So Solana in year 3, basically, should have, the same thing. That took Ethereum, close to 8 years that took Ethereum close to 8 years to figure out. Like the double standards are just ridiculous. And then again, you kind of see like how stupid these people are. Evan says, "Is this shilling? I happened to check FTV, saw one was higher than the other, thought it was interesting, so I tweeted it." Yeah, what? Like FDVs, man. So that means FDVs is fully diluted valuation. It's not a way to actually show how valuable something is. This is how. I can create a token right now that has a higher FDV than Solana. I can do it right now. I would create 1 billion tokens and I'd list one of those tokens on the market and I'd sell that token for, I think Solana has a FDV of like 14 billion right now, 13 billion. I'd sell that one token to a friend of mine for $15. And all of a sudden I have a $15 billion FDV. More valuable than Solana and Optimism, according to this. That's literally the type of idiocy that these people are approaching crypto with. And again, Evan has close to 100,000 followers. Like these are people that people look up to and like get their crypto information from. So yeah, Paulina like rightly calls him out on this. In the screenshot that he posted, you can see it has a $600 million market cap and a fully diluted valuation of 13 billion. Okay, Solana, for reference, has a $9 billion market cap and an FTV of 13 billion. So 9 billion USD value worth of tokens is available to be traded with Solana. With Optimism, only 600 million is available to be traded. And even of that 600 million, who's to say how much is like actually like locked up and not even like freely available to trade? Probably it's definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot. By the way, like similar with Solana, but like these are magnitudes different numbers. So don't come at me with this stuff, you know, like this is really what we're doing. So yeah, lots of the replies kind of called this out. And he seemed to back this up. Like, what does the FTV really tell you about the fair value of the coin? Which is, you know, and he says, he quote tweeted himself and said, the most mid VC take is FTV is not market cap, which got like one like and makes no sense. Which is why like this guy definitely buys his followers. It's really sad. Someone said Solana army is coming your way, Evan. I can smell it. Which I said, like, no, the Ethereum community is calling him out on his BS. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully that gives you like proper context on why I'm getting into this. Next episode, I'll definitely like dive into more stuff. I think I'll stick to like, you know, what's going on Twitter, because this is kind of like our day-to-day anyway. So I'll jump into that. But yeah, let me know what you think. Really, like, give me suggestions on any and all of it, on like what to like really dive into next. I'm excited about that. Yeah, thanks for watching. And yeah, I think I'm going to get some of the margin team on the next episode. Yeah, peace.